and you do the math. The county itself needs a fair assessment to determine whether crime is in the rural areas versus the city of Jackson. I beg to differ because as a crime prevention specialist and a career law enforcement officer, we will do a fair assessment and have done a fair assessment to determine crime is all over Hinds County and it's needed. I'm asking to have the fair opportunity to assess every department in the Sheriff Department to determine whether or not we need 4 deputies at the front door or whether we need 2 deputies at the front door. That's all I'm asking. And you will get a fair assessment and we will utilize the taxpayers' money in a fair and equitable way. But 500 employees, again, is not enough versus 1,000 employees with the city of Jackson. And we are going to address that rapidly. We have just put our command staff together and we're still assessing it. And we actually have a fair opportunity to do that. We're looking at all facets of the Sheriff Department so we can be good stewards of taxpayers' money so we can see what's coming in and how we can better utilize the taxpayers' money. To look at commissaries, telephone inmate income, how we're going to be good stewards of that to make sure that this whole department receives its fair share of money. So I had to defend that because there are some things that were not true that were said. And we want the fair opportunity and give them the fair opportunity to do a fair assessment for crime in Hinds County.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sheriff Lewis. President Stokes.
Thank you. And I don't want to play games with numbers. Now, you're talking about the city of Jackson, 170,000 people. The whole county barely has about, some numbers say 250,000. So now you do the math. If you're talking about 170,000 in the city of Jackson, at best you're talking about 80,000 in the other parts of the county. Now the city of Jackson has its own police force. Now, if you think Hinds County can now become the city of Jackson police with Harvey Johnson's man, I just left, it ain't finna happen. It ain't finna happen. Now, you talking about 80,000 people, and you know what's happening in Hinds County. Ain't no crime in the country. Very little. Very little. You know, if you think the crime in the country is the same as in Jackson, somebody sleepwalking. Now, what I'm saying is that we got to spread the money. Period. The sheriff can't have all the money. Whether it's Macmillan or whoever else, all parts of the county need money. And we don't have a 50,000 to spare into spread. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion?
Somebody could really say 50 million.
Okay. Any additional discussion? I'd like to take a point of order and just state that I do think the sheriff needs to have an opportunity to assess his department and to see exactly what is needed. I read on the fact that I'm going to support law enforcement. I do support law enforcement. I think that everything kind of falls from law enforcement. It's hard to talk about economic development when someone's kicking in your front door. So I think that as a matter of just rightness, I guess if that's the correct word, I think that we need to at least allow the sheriff an opportunity to assess what he needs, what he doesn't need, and what he can do without, what he needs to enhance to make Hinds County a safe place, because we want people to come to Hinds County. We want this to be a county that people are proud of. This is the capital city of the state of Mississippi. And I think that we owe it to everyone to make sure that whenever they come here, that they know that they're safe in what they're doing. Thank you very much. And is there any other discussion? We'll continue with Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I passed out a copy of the activities for the 2012 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration. Hinds County, the city of Jackson, state of Mississippi, leads the country in observance of this celebration. This would be his 83rd birthday, his anniversary of his birth. We will begin tonight at Cornerstone Baptist Church. We're going to have over 2 weeks of activities, and the fine pastor, Reverend Williams at Cornerstone, he was here. He had left. Reverend, if you're here, please raise your hand. Then tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Mr. President, we'll go to CMNI College on Main Street. And Thursday, which is the 5th, we go to the Nation of Islam. Friday, we have a luncheon at Glorious Kitchen. We have a cleanup campaign on Saturday, leading up to the big parade, which is a week away. Then on Sunday, Wings of Faith on Baylor Avenue. On Monday, we go on Mount King Junior Drive to Mount Vision Baptist Church. On Tuesday, the 10th, we go to the Subs, Rebel Southern, New Mac Raven Hill. On Wednesday, the 11th, we go to Rowan Middle School. On Thursday, the 12th, we at Love Outreach Ministries on Half Street. The Friday is Youth Day, where we have a literary contest. This year it won't be at the Margaret Walker Alexander Library, it'll be at the Charles Tisdale Library. And then at 12 noon, we've always gone to the state capitol. We have senators and representatives in Walton Elementary School Choir at 12 noon. Then at 6 p.m., we have a talent show at Linear High School. And we pay cash prizes at Tisdale Library at Linear High School to the young people. Then on the 14th, we have the largest parade in the country in honor of Dr. King, his life and his memory. We have bands coming out of New Orleans and Houston and Jackson State and throughout the state of Mississippi and Memphis, Tennessee. Then on the 15th, we go to Old Strangers Home for the gospel celebration. And the 16th is a national holiday. And on the national holiday, we lay the wreath at 10 a.m. at Freedom Corner. Then at 12 noon, we go back to City Hall and have a birthday celebration with free birthday cake and punch. Then at 6 o'clock, 6:30, we have the awards banquet for the Man of the Year, the Woman of the Year, awards in medicine and law. It's going to be at Jackson State University at the Walter Payton Center. And it packs out where people can get there early. It's absolutely free. Everything we do with Dr. King is free. This year's Man of the Year is Mr. Payne, the owner of Church's Chicken, who's an outstanding businessman, been in business a number of years. And the Woman of the Year is Mrs. Rigsby, the wife of Dr. Rigsby, worked there at Tookoom College forever. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion that you want to make?
Yes, sir. They'll read the order.
Okay. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to approve a resolution commemorating the 83rd anniversary of the birth of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and in observance of the celebration of the national holiday in his honor.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, could I get to read the body, please? And Reverend William just came in. We'll be at his church tonight.
Do you have a copy of the body of the resolution? Okay. Okay.
Resolution of the Hinds County Board of Supervisors commemorating the 83rd anniversary of the birth of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and in observance of the celebration of the national holiday in his honor. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, receiving his father's name of Martin at the age of 6. And whereas after graduating from Morehouse College in Atlanta, earning a BA, he attended Crozier Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania, and later received his PhD from Boston University. And whereas Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King served as the pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, and his first major battle in the civil rights movement occurred in Montgomery after Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat on a city bus. And whereas in 1957, Dr. King founded and served as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He led many successful efforts for voting rights, fair hiring practices, open housing, and slum rehabilitation, and opposed the Vietnam War. And whereas in 1963, Dr. King was named Time Magazine's Man of the Year. And in 1964, he became the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. And whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated while standing on the balcony of the Moraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4, 1968. Whereas the legislation creating the national holiday honoring Dr. King was signed into law by President Ronald Reagan on November 2, 1983. Therefore, be it resolved that the Hinds County Board of Supervisors hereby commemorates the 83rd anniversary of the birth of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and in observance of the national holiday in his honor. So resolved this the 3rd day of January 2012.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Mr. Stokes, continue, please.
Mr. President, over the years, the Sheriff's Department, through an agreement with the City of Jackson, has used inmate labor to help clean up the parade route. I just thought it was fitting that we put it on the agenda and vote on it as a body. They've been doing it for help, but we want to get, if we can, Hinds County involved with the Dr. King celebration. That's what we have an item number 4.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion? All those in favor of? Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to approve the request to give the Hinds County Sheriff the authority to utilize the labor of the eligible Hinds County inmates for the cleanup of the parade route for the 30th annual Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration parade to be held in Jackson on Saturday, January 14, 2012, before the parade and immediately following the parade.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stokes, continue.
Mr. President, if I could, I would formally invite all members of the Board of Supervisors to participate in the parade and get something right. But we think it'll be an honor privilege to pledge a senior member of this board, Supervisor Anderson, will participate as one of the parade marshals. And let me say, make sure we have all supervisors invited. But it's a nice parade. Again, due to that, the president of Jackson State has committed this year to be one of the marshals also. So we want to make sure that all members of this board, that we'll provide transportation and everything that you need. If you've never been to the parade, I guarantee you'll find that that's one of the best parades you'll find anywhere in the world. And finally, Mr. President, I wanted to present, as I honor the glorious Ms. Pittman, who's been out here on the forefront of fighting for civil rights and equal rights, a copy of this resolution that we just voted on by the Board of Supervisors. And I'm asking Ms. Pittman to come forward. And I don't know if the Gloriettes have made it yet. If not, the Gloriettes, they are here. The final thing I had on the agenda, Mr. President, is to honor the Gloriettes. I'm going to ask them and Ms. Pittman to come forward. This group has been together praising God for over 50 plus years. That in itself is historic. And there's somewhat, all of them are not here, and they're somewhat disbanded, but we want to tell them thank you. So I'm going to meet them at the podium.
Okay.
We have Ms. Collins with Gloriette, and we have Ms. Pittman, who everyone knows. She's head of the NACP here and been a part of it. Even seemed like when Avery Henry was thinking about getting it started, Ms. Pittman was there helping them, even though she's a young lady now, don't get me wrong with that. But I want to present the first one to Ms. Pittman. That's a copy of this resolution honoring Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and it's national holiday, and it's a copy of this resolution. And I present Ms. Pittman as I say some words of philosophy.
To Supervisor Graham, who is my supervisor, other members, other supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor that I come today and just to say something about Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm just thinking that the late Dr. Jughead Gene Young could do a better job than I can do. And of course, we still remember him. But I would just like to say some experiences that I had with Dr. King. my family and I went to San Francisco, and we went to a big meeting at the Cow Palace, and Dr. King was a featured speaker. And to my surprise, when he came, he was not only escorted by the police department there in California, he was riding in the car. And I thought back in Mississippi, this wouldn't happen. But he was there. And then on another occasion, was the Meredith March, when Mr. Meredith was shot. On his march, Dr. King came and took over that march and brought it to Jackson, to the state capitol. And at that time, the state capitol employees and powers that be would not allow him a place to speak. So Mr. Charles Evers rented a flat 18-wheeler truck, flatbed, and that was his platform. I remember because at that time I was pregnant with my son Albert. I also remember and was present at the famous I Have a Dream speech in Washington, D.C. I stood there among all of those people, and as he delivered this dynamic speech, electrifying speech, I saw grown black men crying like babies because he was telling the story of us as a people. And also, I saw him again at Medgar Evers's funeral at the Masonic Temple. He came to that funeral. And I also attended his funeral services in Atlanta City, Atlanta, Georgia. And I've never seen so many people before to say anything about the number of people that got into the church. The Kennedys were there, Mahalia Jackson, and many, many more. And of course, after his death, I was on the plane, and there was Mrs. King. Of course, she was riding in first class, and I was just in the regular plane, on the regular plane, but she still was hospitable, and she got up and she came back and talked with us when we had a break or was laying over somewhere. But I have fond memories, and as I look at you today, you are epitomizing what he said, that we will not be judged by the color of our skins, but the content of our character. And my sheriff has gone, but he too is a part of that. And many of you are a part of the things that Dr. King fought for. And I challenge you that we do not take it lightly, and that we be forever watchful as to what's going on, because at the snap of a finger, they will try to turn the clock back. And let's not be a part of it. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Ms. Collins is here from Gloriettes Gospel Singers, and the flag reads, presented to the Gloriettes Gospel Singers for praising God and uplifting mankind for 52 years through your gift of song. Supervisor Kenneth Stokes, District 5, Hinds County. Ms. Collins, did you say something?
It's an honor to be here to accept this presentation on behalf of the Gloriettes. Certainly I haven't been with them 52 years, but I've enjoyed the time that I was with them. They're a great group of ladies to work with, and we just enjoy singing. I am the youngest person in the group, and I've only been with them like 4 years. They're retiring, I think the third Sunday in December was the last performance that they gave. They're all elderly now and getting ill, not able to get around much, so they decided to retire. And I just found out about this at the last minute to come down today. So again, it's an honor, and we do appreciate you and your support that you've given us.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Kelvin. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I would just like to say, if you all have not heard the laureate sing "You're Missing a Treat." And to Mrs. Pittman, let me just say I have the most respect and honor for her. I've been knowing her ever since I was a little girl in elementary school.
We were girls too.
What did you? I didn't hear you, Miss
I
Pittman.
think we were girls together.
we were girls. You see how young she was.
77.
77, but she looks very, very young. She still is doing it. But what I was going to say, that even then, Mrs. Pittman has always fought for a human cause, and that's why I appreciate her so. And there is a memorable event at the school that I could share with you, but I won't share it with you this morning. But I have shared it with Mrs. Pittman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. We will now continue. Before we go to the county administrator, we'd like to go back to Supervisor Fisher, who has an appointment that he'd like to make under his name. Supervisor Fisher.
I was informed this morning and spoken with Ryan Tracy, my appointment for economic development, on the economic development board. And Ryan has said he'd like to serve up 4 years, so I'd like to place his name in motion for an additional term. Ryan Tracy, he's a dentist in Clinton and has already served 4 years on the board. I think he served as president at least one of those years. So I would put his name in nomination.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to reappoint Ryan Tracy to the Hinds County Economic Development Authority Board of Trustees.
Okay. We just take another moment of privilege, and I have another individual, the same person, or from the same particular position, Mr. Charles Doty, who has served as the District 1 Supervisor, representative to the Hinds County Economic Development Authority. His tenure is up, and I'd like to reappoint him for the next 4 years. He has agreed to serve and has done a very good job with the Hinds County Economic Development Authority. I place into the nomination the name of Mr. Charles Doty.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to reappoint Mr. Charles Doty to the Hinds County Economic Development Authority Board of Trustees.
Thank you very much. We will continue with the printed.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
I want to request the county administrator give me a list of all my boards and who serve District 5 on the different boards as soon as possible. So maybe at the next meeting we can have the names presented.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Stokes, and she is so noted. We will now continue the printed agenda going to the county administrator, Mrs. Carmen Davis. Mrs. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Happy New Year, board members.
Good morning.
First item under county administrator is unclaimed bodies. There are no unclaimed bodies for your consideration today.
Okay.
The next item is a discussion from Mr. Tim Chenault, Fire Chief from Pocahontas Fire Station. Is he present today?
Mr. Chenault.
We had an issue regarding the fire station located at 40 FOA Road that he would like to present to the board members.
Good morning. Would you state your name, please?
My name is Tim Chenault. I am the chief at the Pocahontas Fire Department. And I just want to thank you all for letting me attempt to get a question answered concerning our station. Before I do that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the fire department that serves that section of Hinds County. You have received a handout listing some of the items here. You'll see our roster that is on there. We have 18 very active members of this department. 1 nurse, 1 paramedic, 2 EMTs, and 11 nationally certified emergency first responders. All of our firefighters are trained to the Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 certification through the Mississippi State Fire Academy. My understanding is that we are probably the only department in Hinds County that 100% of its firefighters are trained through both Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2. We've committed to many, many hours of training to receive that certification. If you look, we have our call runs in there. Over the last 7 years, we've averaged 143 calls. I don't know how we are in 2011, but for 2012, we were the only department in Hinds County that responded to 100% of every call that was dispatched. We have someone that responded to try to render aid. On the second page of your handout, you'll see the federal grants that we have received, well, federal and state. Over $212,000 we've applied for and received in the last 5 years. This year, we've applied for an additional $60,000, which will buy equipment and provide additional training for our department. This past year, the training that we did, Firefighter 1 and 2, we did open up to all the departments in Hinds County. We had Byram, Raymond, Brownsville, and Larned that sent members of their department to our department to train along with us. I could go on to many other things there. You can go to our website, www.pocahontaspfd.org, and you can get all the information plus photos of all of our training that we're doing in Hinds County. On page 3, you'll see photos of our department that is there. We are currently operating. We have 5 pieces of equipment crammed into a 2-bay shop area. Used to be, I guess my understanding, is a Hinds County maintenance district going up there. So we're tight on space. We have a little 16 by 16 office that our members built that we try to cram 18 members into that just does not work. We've got a little 110 air conditioner unit that we try to cool as a heat and air unit. And if all of our members show up, we have to meet out inside of our engine bay area. Now here's the issue with this, is on the front side of our building, you can see in picture 5 there's an additional 1,100 square foot of office space and meeting rooms joining to our fire station. But we're not allowed to use that. Some 20 years ago, that was taken away from the fire department. It was ours, and it was taken away for the purpose of having a daycare facility. There's a plaque on the front of that building where they received grant money to operate this daycare and community center. So my understanding, I've talked to the 2 previous fire chiefs, that building has never been used for the purpose of daycare or community center. The only thing that it is used for is a polling place when we have elections up there. I see you shaking your head, Mr. Anderson. Now, I've been there for 8 years, and I can tell you that is not an active daycare facility. If you look at pages 9, 10, or pictures 9, 10, and 11, you see that the toys are run down. There's weeds growing up in the playground there, and there's zero activity taking place in this building. When I tried to ask, when I first became chief, I went to Mr. Larry Fisher, who was our EOC director, about getting that building, and he said that was not open for discussion. So I dropped it. When Mr. Jimmy Lewis became our EOC director, he asked me, Tim, anything we can do to help, let me know. I said, here's what I would like. Well, a couple of weeks later, I was in the EOC office, and he called me in. He said, Tim, this is a moot point. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, it's mute. It's not open for discussion. And so I don't understand why we have a perfectly good 1,100 square foot office and meeting space joined to our building that is maintained by Hinds County that we cannot use for our department. If we were not very active, if we were not proactive, I wouldn't be here. If that building was being used for what it said it would be, I wouldn't be here. But it is just sitting there. It looks like that it is somebody's personal storage, and I don't know what's going on. I've been told an awful lot of things. One, that this may be some of Mr. Anderson's kinfolks that has the use of that building. I've been told that the person there is paying $1 a year rent on that building. If that's the case, as tight as money is with the county, we'll go up to $100 a year rent if we can get the building. But I just want to question. The question is why can we not have that building for use as our meeting room? This past year, we paid Mississippi College $7,500 to be able to rent classroom space. Had to drive out of our district into Clinton to do our training that we wanted to do. We had 25 people in our training sessions. and there's nowhere for us to do that. But there's a building there that could be used. I know, I've been told that all the supervisors here will probably defer this to Mr. Anderson. So I just want to know the reason why, and if y'all can't answer that today, I'm okay with that. But I wanted it brought to the whole board's attention of what I think is an injustice going on up there. Maybe even the misuse of federal money and maybe county money. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for your statement, Chief. I do think that we do need to have an opportunity to investigate, to